Good to go.
So I'm Mike Joyce, and I'm the outside salesman at Penn Machine. I've been working for Penn for almost 9 years. Um, we're manufacture high pressure pipe fittings. We do fittings, T's, 90s, elbows. We do branch connections, threadlets, weldlets, elbowlets, lateralets. We can do swedge nipples, and we can do regular pipe nipples. Any special length or configuration, say you needed a British thread by National Pipe Thread, we can do that. If you need a bevel by groove, any configuration you can think of, we can do that. We can do them up to, I think it's about 10 feet long, and up to about 4 inches on the pipe size. We don't get into the real large stuff. We have that item down there, that flanged nipple outlet. That's one of our specialty engineered items. So that would be, if a guy was out in the field, that would be 3 fittings. It would be the flange, a nipple, and then a weldlet or threadlet. That we make it as one piece out of bar, and the thing that's nice about it is it's got less leak paths, less inspection points to be signed off on. We can make it to any length.
So I was going to ask you if it's standard length or you just order what?
Right. So you're, say you had you're in a boiler room or something like that, and they want to add a line or a valve or something like that. That's where that would come into play. It's not obviously it's not an everyday item, and it's going to be pricey, but we can do it for you. On the fittings, we do 3,000. Well, we do 2,000, but we don't really advertise that much. But 3,000, 6,000, 9,000 pound socket weld or threaded. We can also do special threads on those. We can do socket by thread. We could do, if you had a BSPT requirement. On the same thing, any of the connections that we have, we can do that with. The branch connections would be kind of nice in that, if you're coming off of a piece of pipe and you want to transition to something else, whether say it's grooved, we can set you up with that. Material grades, we deal in over 100 different grades of material. One thing that had come up was we do aluminums.
Could you mention them all for us?
Larry wants to write them down. That's about it.
You list them and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
You must listen hard to steal.
But aluminum was an item that had come up. You don't think of aluminum's light, so you're not thinking high pressure, but we definitely have it. We can do aluminum nipples too. There's like 3 or 4 different grades of aluminum that we deal in. I don't know when you do run into that, if they give you a particular grade.
6061, I think, is the most common that we run into.
So we'll definitely have that. Yeah. Let's see, what else? On the outlets, a lot of people ask for a weldlet, and they think a threadlet is a weldlet because you're welding it onto the pipe, but they actually need to thread a nipple into the other side, so they want a threadlet. So if somebody asks you for a weldlet, just make sure that they definitely want a weldlet and not a threadlet. We also have sockelets where the pipe would go in and then you weld around it. And then we have your regular weldelets where it would butt up against the other side. It would be this beveled finish. and then your pipe would be beveled and you would just weld there. Lateralettes, elbowlets, again, say this is your pipe and you're coming off of it, you want to go to 45. That would be a way to do that.
What about the run consolidations? I know people have questions usually, or don't understand that a lot in run consolidations.
Yeah, so the run consolidations, if you go to page 32, you'll see, just use the first page there. The top side, where it's got all the numbers highlighted in yellow, that's going to be your outlet side. And then the numbers below it, if you have like 1/8 of an inch, there's two sizes, but 36 to 1/8 of an inch is your run. It would be, that outlet would fit on any piece of pipe 1/8 of an inch up to 36 inches. So it's a smaller size. You know, that you're really not going to run into any other application. Then you start getting into some of the larger sizes, say like a 2-inch. So you've got the 2-inch outlet, and then you can do a 2x2 where it would come off a 2-inch pipe, and you're using 2-inch. And then you've got like a range below that, 3.5 to 2.5, 6 to 4. Those are the sizes of the pipe that they would want to weld it onto. Run into like OEMs where it's, you know, got to be more specific. I know like guys out in the field, sometimes they'll take anything, because a good mechanic can make anything work.
That's what I always tell them. Good welder can do it.
Right.
Like, what's it mean by the flat?
A flat would be,
Bigger than 36?
yeah, it would be
Yeah.
flat. You know, it would be like just like sitting on this table. Like if you know, if you were coming off of a, I can't even really think of an exact application.
Maybe a tank or something where it's like
Yeah.
The biggest thing,
Blade.
customers aren't gonna know what pipe that 2.5 to 3. They're
Yeah.
gonna tell you, I want a 2-inch threadlet. What size pipe you putting on?
Yeah.
Then you go from there. Then you
Right.
figure out, okay, you know, I'm putting on 3-inch pipe, okay, that's gonna fit in this range. Boom.
Yep.
So it just fits.
And again, that's usually not a problem at all for anybody, unless you're dealing with an OEM that, you know, they've got, say, equipment that's set up to do a certain size, and they need the same exact thing every single time. What else does?
Ask questions on threadlets, because
Yeah.
customers have no clue. What they say they want and what they want are two different things.
Yeah.
Like I said, they'll use threadlets, they call it a weldelet, you
All
know.
the time.
they-
Tell me they want.
And then you send them one that says that 2 by 2.5 to 3. Well, what the heck is that? Well, that's, you know, they don't understand, so it just is, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah, I've actually had customers even ask, you know, I'm looking for a 4-inch weldelet, and then you find out that that's not even the outlet size, that was the size pipe that it was going on.
Yeah.
to. So you have to.
They just think you know what size or outlet they want.
Yeah.
Right.
Most of the time you're gonna sell us threadlets. We both, isn't that right, Doug? Most of the
Yep.
majority is threadlets.
But there again, it's like he said that somebody will say, I want a weldelet, and anytime you hear weldelet, you gotta clarify how you connecting it. Are you threading it on, you know, does your outlet need to be threaded, or does it need socket weld, or is it really butt weld? So
As well as the class of pipe that it's coming off of, and what you need it to be required to, because there's going to be slight changes in the runs and the size of the outlets.
You don't have to call Doug.
No, I don't.
That's what I do.
So you guys all understand the threadlet. I mean, if there's a piping there, instead of putting a T in place,
Yeah.
you just drill a hole, put this on, weld it around, you got an outlet come right up there. That's an outlet is.
can we see the?
And you probably run into more threadlets on smaller pipe, smaller outlet, and then weldelets, because when we've got we go up to, I think we do up to 42-inch pipe that it can go onto. But, you know, you're not going to see anybody typically trying to thread 6-inch pipe. Yeah, it's pretty big. I guess that's a strap wrench. It's not a regular pipe wrench.
Just a hand
Or
throw.
chain wrench. Larry can do it by hand.
Yeah.
So the curved side is gonna be the side that actually goes against the pipe that has the hole cut inside.
And that
You
arc
sure?
will
Yep.
fit. Right. That's it right on there.
And ideally, you see here how the fit is, they don't want you to have
Yeah.
more than a, what's that say, 16th inch? On either way,
It's 1.6 millimeters.
1.6 mil. So either, so the fit needs to be within that tolerance so that it welds in this. But guys will weld.
Whatever.
They'll weld.
Yeah,
They'll weld.
anything.
They'll just take half couplings.
Yeah.
They will. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I've seen that more than. Oh, yeah, those.
Especially the penny pincher guys.
Yeah. Just give me a half coupling.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like I say, you may not have something in stock that they need, and all right, we'll just give it the next run.
That's what I was gonna ask, that's why when you said about flats, I thought, I've never ordered flats, I always just saw them half couplings, I mean, I don't know what the difference really is, but I mean, why would you?
It's
It's
like bevel.
basically the same
Pressure
thing.
rating too.
Yeah.
It's forged.
Yeah, they are gonna be.
Most of the guys I'm selling half couplings, they were just using them for like stops anyway, they're putting them on, they're not gonna melt before, and probably not really not at all. They
Yeah.
just use it for feed or whatever.
It's like a drain or something.
Is the half coupling beveled?
No. Well,
Those are probably beveled.
it's beveled for the weld side.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Half coupling is beveled
Yeah,
on the
that
weld
would be
side.
the difference.
Yeah.
But again, guy knows what he's doing. He could probably just
I probably will.
Yeah.
make his own bevel. Do you have any other questions as far as products or?
Okay, so, I know on your website you do have drawings, maybe, talk a little bit about the type of, how the
Okay.
3D CAD type.
Yeah, yeah. So like if you go into our website and then you go into products, or it's products and then catalog, and then it'll show the different fittings. And it's basically like a submittal sheet, but when you click to open that up, it'll be like a chart and it'll have all the dimensional data and all that, and up in the corner it's the actual fitting. If you click on that fitting, you can move it to whatever direction you want to move it. It will stay wherever you want it to go. Like say if you wanted to print it out and then put notes on it for a customer. Say you wanted to explain a threadlet, this side's going to have the threads on it. This is the side that's going to go on the pipes. So it is very good as far as that. MTRs, if you get MTR requirements, you can get those off of the website. You just put your account number in, and then you'll put a heat number in. You can put a PO number in. You can track shipments. We'll back up to the MTRs. On the MTRs, if you know ahead of time that you need MTRs and you place an order and request MTRs, we can send them up to 5 people. So we could send, a copy to, is it Kim that does the MTRs, a copy to one of you guys, the end user, engineer, whoever. The thing that I like about that is, as soon as you place that order, that MTR is sent to you electronically, and then if there's something that doesn't match up with whoever's ordering, they can catch it ahead of time and head off any problems. And then, like I say, you can track shipments on there. There's training on there. Most of them right now are like a sort of a PowerPoint type presentation. A little boring in my book, but we're starting to do more videos, which are good. You can get those to your customer or even for yourself just to review things. There's one in there, and I believe that's the PowerPoint on the run consolidations and the proper way to do a sometimes it's kind of good to know what, you know, what your customer is using it for.
So I'm looking at the, 44, page 44, the pipe nipples. So there's a close and a short?
Shoulder.
One after
Does it
the
say
Says
short?
short.
Does it say short?
Yeah.
Yeah, short and shoulder I think is gonna be the same.
Is synonymous?
Yeah.
So
It's
one
just-
after close.
Yeah, just next size up,
It's
and
next
it's just a
size
little
close.
bit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can be different size, depending on
yeah, depending on what
the
size
length.
the pipe is, but.
Right.
The shoulder nipples.
Interesting. I never knew.
Yeah, I never noticed that, but yeah, I've always referred to them as a
It's
shoulder.
a shoulder, that's what a shoulder, okay,
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
Yep.
Yeah, most people call it.
Short.
I want a close and next to close.
Is that right? Yeah.
Well,
All
and because-
thread.
Something they can get a wrench in between without messing booger.
Well, a lot of times, because if it's like 2 inch, shoulder might be 3 inch or whatever, 2.5, but then 1 inch it might be a 2 inch, yeah. That's 1.5, everybody else. So they don't know exactly either, because
Yeah.
It's always different.
Yeah, well, there's quite a
Changes.
difference on that 1/8 inch. You know,
Sure.
On the close, it's only 3/4, whereas the short is 1.5 inches. It's like twice as long.
Yeah. Yep, that's good to know. Learn something, I can go home.
How many locations does Penn Machine have?
We have 3 total locations. We have our forging facility is in Swedesboro, New Jersey, which is probably 20 minutes from Aston, which is called corporate. That's where we do machining. It's where our sales staff, other than our Houston people, are, which is one of our other locations. We ship material out of there. We pretty much ship everything out of there except for if you order nipples, they're probably going to be coming out of Houston. They've just got machines that are set up to do those and our outlets too, but we actually do stock the outlets at Aston. We were talking about plant tours, so at some point, maybe we can get, you know, however it would work for you guys best, we can tailor it to whatever, you know, if you want to. I know weekends aren't the most favorite in the world, but we could do that if that's what you wanted to do. And we would get you out to our forge facility. You see how that's where it starts. It's a pretty impressive operation. You guys, you weren't there, were you?
I was just in Cobra.
Right, you did the group thing.
Yeah, I was there years ago.
Yeah,
Explain to them once how forged fitting is actually made.
yeah, so,
Because once you see how it's made, you won't bulk the
exactly.
cost.
Well, that's something that, you know, it does kind of bring light to the expenses involved. You get a raw ingot, and say we put 30 of them in an oven, and they heat them up between 1800 to 2300 degrees, depending on the type of material and the size of the fitting. And so that thing gets cherry red. It's the color of those Solo cups when they get it out. And they've got these, it's pretty labor intensive. They got a guy with 5-foot tongs. He reaches into that oven, brings one of them out, and then he places it into the hammer. And then you've got the guy that operates the hammer. And,
Trouble boys wanted.
You know, it's just this big hammer that comes down and just forges it into the shape. And,
Beats it to a pulp.
yep, and then, you know, like, I'll say it does 5 or 6 on one side, and then they flip it over, and it does, you know, a couple more on that side to make sure it's uniform, and then it goes out the other side, and there's like a material that's like left over that gets squeezed out between, and that just, as they bring it out, it kind of gets knocked off, and then it gets quenched, and then it goes in these big metal crates. They're probably about this big by that long, and they sit in there and they cool off enough to where, I mean, actually I've seen them at the machine shop where they're still hot, so
Yeah.
it's like, you know, you never want to get too close to something that's in one of those metal bins, you never.
Like, then,
Yeah, remember
Yeah.
those things falling off the
we're
end?
like standing right beside it.
What was this?
Well, Ben, we were,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were literally like right beside it, it's like, just
Yeah.
coming off the thing.
It's a 4-inch elbow dumps into a big nest, yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's like glowing.
Yeah, it's pretty loud, you know, it's.
So it forms the basic shape and then it goes to machining
Right.
there. Okay.
So like, if you've been out to Anvil's foundry, they pour their fittings and it's got, you know, it's hollowed out. It's got the actual complete form of the fitting. They've got sand forms that they do that with. Ours is a solid piece. It's just hammered into the shape.
Okay.
It goes to the machine shop, they drill it and machine it to whatever, whether it's gonna be, you know, socket weld or threaded.
Okay.
We also, so that we can get material, our big thing is getting material out the door. We like to get our quotes out the door as soon as possible and material out the door, because time is money, and, you know, a lot of times, if you're the first guy, people are gonna place the order with you. So we take pride in that, and, where was I going with that? We have the shapes, so say we get, I don't know, 1,000 2-inch elbows, we'll turn most of them into a threaded elbow. We'll leave blanks on the shelf somewhere,
Okay.
and then if somebody needs like a 2-inch by 3/4 inch, we can machine it pretty quickly, get the material out the door in 3 to 5 days.
Yeah.
So whereas, you know, a lot of our competition, they're all about getting, you know, volume stuff out, and it's all just your regular commodity type stuff, which we do too. I mean, we believe in inventory.
Right.
And, you know, there's oddball stuff, like, you know, Doug was asking about the aluminum. We actually have aluminum on the shelf, ready to go. You know, all kinds of different grades, and, I don't know if you run into any, low temp applications, LF2.
Right.
Yep.
A20.
Yep, super duplexes, Hasselblads, Inconels, bronzes.
So you do, I mean, besides the commodity, obviously, you do, you know, some of the specialty stuff. Is your lead time much longer on the specialty stuff that, you know, somebody's giving you a drawing for, that kind of thing?
It just depends on what, I mean, there are certain things that, yeah, it's gonna take a little bit longer because, you know, you might need to get the raw material in. We carry a lot of raw material. We have bar stock that, if you ever get out to see the plant, you'll see how much of that we inventory. And then the same thing at the Ford shop. I don't know, Ron Lafferty, who is still involved with the company, he's the owner. He's got a pretty good feel for when to buy certain items, and they load up and they keep inventory so that, you know, we can hit the demands that people require. We're big into refineries and oil and gas applications. Those a lot of times are more emergency type situations. So we've got 24-hour, 365 service, emergency service. I was explaining to the inside people, you want to clarify to your customer that it's for emergency purposes. It's not just some guy that decided he's going to work on a Saturday, because there's a definite price attached to that. If we need to send somebody in to get material, we have to send 3 people in for safety reasons. So each one of them is being paid a minimum of 3 hours, and so. No.
Double time.
And if you call in, one of our inside people carries the, they call it the emergency phone for a week, and you know, they'll answer the phone and take care of a problem for you.
Now, obviously, you're Pennsylvania manufacturer, not only United States manufacturer. What are some of the certifications that you get asked for a lot? Like what to meet? I know sometimes I'll have country of origin requirements, but are there some other
Right.
requirements?
So we're domestic manufacturer, 100% domestic. some of our materials, raw materials, come from other countries. They're just, not available in the United States, or they're just so expensive that people aren't going to buy them on an everyday basis. There's an AIS requirement. I don't know if any of you have seen that, American Iron Steel Act, and that means the material had to have been melted and manufactured in the United States. We can do that with carbon and stainless. The other stuff, we don't get involved with that. I don't even know if there is an AIS for the other stuff. But it's going to be a lot more expensive than the everyday stuff that you're used to dealing with. But most of the guys that are dealing with it, I've typically seen it with water treatment plants. I don't know if there's other people out there that get those requirements, but that's where I've seen it, and we're seeing more and more of it recently. So we can definitely help you there. We talked about normalizing. If you run into that, we can offer a normalized fitting. There's a situation out there right now where a lot of people weren't really doing it the proper way, so there's a lawsuit that it wasn't being done properly. And what it is, it's a heat treating process, and the product has to be annealed, and it's got to be contained, and it's got to come down to a certain temperature, and then it's got to be quenched. A lot of especially the foreign manufacturers, all they were doing was just putting it under a box and calling it normalized. And that's not the true way to do it. And it's a way for them to keep their costs down too. So we've always kind of battled that, and nobody really wanted to get into that battle because they can get it. People more concerned with availability than doing the right thing, so to speak. It's just like with pipe supports. A lot of times you see you see a lot more applications where they say it's got to be domestic, and I used to work for Anvil, so I know all the different tricks. But people putting import product in a domestic box and all that good stuff. But
So how else do if we're competing against import, what are we?
we just don't really compete against import. I mean, there's the carbon, there's not as big of a gap, so it's not usually as much of an issue. I've found threadlets and weldlets, if there's guys out there selling import product, they seem to always buy the domestic outlets, because I guess they just don't do as many of them overseas. And like you're doing like a indent buy or something like that, they'll send you whatever they want to send you. They may not have everything that exactly what you need, and the price is like, sometimes it's actually even more to get I don't know why, but it does seem to work out that way. But yeah, we don't really look to compete with the import guys. Just don't want to go down that rabbit hole. That's a never-ending race to the bottom.
Back to the aluminum, Mike, do you have threaded and weld fittings?
Yep.
Aluminum?
Now, when you're saying weld, do you mean socket weld or do you mean butt weld?
Would be socket weld.
Socket weld,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. Do you run into that?
Not the socket weld so much, the threaded and the butt weld we run into.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, we don't really
Well,
do much in
cling, because
butt weld.
sometimes it's 12 weeks or something.
yeah. Well, that's what I was saying in the first
Yeah.
group, is that it's nice to know as
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying cling buys them, as my customer, and
They just
Something
keep it
we might
in
be able to take a look
75
at though, if
pieces
it's
of
something that,
something.
is it
Yeah,
like kind of like an
well, they had
ongoing
75.
thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually like every
Like
couple
half
months
companies
they'll
will work
ask
for
for
3
it,
months,
and
yeah.
then it's hit or miss. Sometimes
Then you come
the
in, like,
regular
yeah, call.
vendor that we usually go to will sometimes, oh yeah, we got it in stock, and then other times we'll call them up, yeah, that's 8 weeks out, and so it's
Right.
like, okay,
Yeah, right.
so But yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, if it's something that you wanted to explore, we could certainly, you know, look at usages
and you do
try to
nipples as
figure
well
out.
too, correct? On the
Yep.
on those aluminum. Okay.
Most of our nipples are made from bar, so it's, you know, again, we're not looking to compete with a commodity guy. You're looking at, you know, something that's gonna come out looking like this. It's not gonna be like your average nipple
least they'll
sitting
give us
on
an
the shelf
option,
out
say-
there.
You want this price, you know, 8 weeks, or you want this price in
Yep.
2 weeks?
Well, and that's the one thing that I have to say about working with Penn Machine is that even on the specialty products that here, I'll have drawings for certain customers. I don't think there's hardly anything that's ever gone beyond 2 weeks on a lead time. So
Yeah, we're typically 3 to 5 days on a specialty type item.
yeah.
And the only thing that would hold us up is raw material, but typically that's not an
Yeah.
issue either.
I get those old guys that want like soccer weld by thread adapters. I call it's on the shelf and some reducing sign. I think can't believe they have it. Oh yeah, we got them. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
wow, you know,
Right.
they're $100 a piece, but they got them.
I know you touched on it
Well,
in the
it's-
first meeting about there's I guess some AMLs that you sometimes get.
Yeah,
mixed up.
like we're on all the big AMLs, the Exxons, the Shells, Sunoco, all those big Husky. So we're on all of their AMLs. We're also on some AMLs of guys that you probably haven't heard of and we hadn't really heard of. But if you run into a situation where we're not on an AML, let us know about it so that we can, it's better if you've got like a contact for us to talk to. We just recently got on a company, Energy Transfer, and they're more found doing business in the fracking world. So you probably aren't gonna run into a lot of that. But it was like, it took us a while. It was like a year and a half or so before we finally got on there. There's different things. I mean, they do audits, and a lot of times they don't want to get involved with all that stuff if they've got enough guys that they think will handle those needs. We've had situations where people have said, are you woman-owned or minority-owned business? And we're not, so they're like, well, we're not looking to add anybody unless they hit that. But for the most part, I mean, my guys that are involved with that are quality guys, our quality department, and they deal with those people all the time. And there's a bunch of different things. Like I say, you've got the audit process. It's having them understand what it is that you're selling to. I mean, the latest one with Energy Transfer, part of the reason it took so long was because originally they're like, you're approved. We get it back, we look through it, we're approved for nipples and butt weld fittings, and it's like, what about all the other stuff? And they're like, oh, well, we didn't look at those. It's like, well, that's mostly what we sell. So we had to go through the whole thing all over again. Not the audit, but just, having them understand what it is that we do. But again, we're on most AMLs. They're listed, well, the AMLs aren't. I can send you a file if you want it of the AMLs that we're on. But like all the, the special NSF and ISO and all that, that's all on the website. So if you need to show anybody that type of stuff, it's easily available.
One thing to keep in mind, you can sell forged fittings less expensive than extra heavy malleable fitting, significantly less.
Yeah.
So when you get into an
can't
application, look at extra steam lines or anything like that, instead of going extra heavy malleable, you can sell forged. The only complaint you get from a customer is a little heavier.
Right.
You're putting up the ceiling and everything, but you're gonna get a 2,000 or 3,000 pound fitting compared to a 300 pound fitting. It's gonna be
Especially if you're only
less.
looking for a couple of them.
Yeah.
If it's a job, people are gonna be like, no,
Yeah.
I don't wanna do
But you
it.
can save them cost though too. And that's,
Well, for
yeah.
sure, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And who would want a 2,000 pound or 3,000 pound fitting?
Right, you're getting a better fitting,
Yeah.
heavier, stronger fitting for
Yeah.
that always amazes me. Like you said before, when you look at the process of making a forged
It's
item
significantly less.
as
Yeah.
opposed to a malleable or a cast iron, they pour, I don't know, like a tray full of a dozen or 2 dozen, and they just keep doing that. And it's a lot. I mean, it's still a labor intensive. I always used to, like to take people to see that when they would complain about, imports. It's like, well, come see how it's made.
Yeah.
Any other questions or?
Well, I know that sometimes, especially with one of the customers I deal with, they ask for Canadian registration numbers. That's
Yeah,
something that can be found on your website?
Yes, yeah, that's one of the things you definitely register for. Yep, it might, actually, I don't know if it was in here or not. But it's definitely on the website. I don't do a lot of these. This, if you've noticed, the F2000, that's the year that these were.
It doesn't change.
So it's been a good 19 years.
He's been in his car for 19
Getting a little
years.
slow,
Yeah, the internet's changed a lot.
Ever since they hired Mike, they haven't been able to afford to do the upgrade.
Yeah, right. Well, there's, we talked about it in the earlier session. I like to
You don't find
be able
hand
to
sketches
open up a
anymore.
catalog or something, kind of look it over. I mean, the website's good, but,
If you're looking for something specific.
or if you got a guy on a job site or something like that, that either can't or doesn't feel like dealing with it.
RPS tablets.
We've got catalogs. All it is a 3-ring binder, and it's got this in it, and it's got our old line card, which was just a single piece of paper. That was it, so that's, the 3-ring binder just made it easy to store on the shelf, And so you guys had the run consolidations, you made up some of those, right? And I've got, we made up, I was hoping to have them with me, but our line card, brochure, whatever you want to call it, and it's a 2-sided, really nice, and it shows you the products, our services, specifications that we meet, and it's got like pictures on it of some of the fittings and all that. That's something nice to for you guys especially. You're with the customer, you hand it to them. You've got your IPS sticker that you put on the bottom of it. They know to call you for those items. And there may be something on there. And again, I know what it's like being I did outside sales on your side of the business, so I know it's like you don't always feel like having a manufacturer or another guy hanging with you, but sometimes it's good in that I might see something that you wouldn't. Not that I'm any better, it's just that I'm looking for something different. You guys are dealing with your customers on a daily basis, and you could walk past that Coke and Sprite bottle, and it's been sitting there, and you don't even recognize it anymore because you've been in to see your customer so many times. And oh man, they'd have Coke and Sprite.
They want to tell us to look for Steve.
So little stuff like that. So yeah, I'm available if you guys. I live in Maryland. 30 minutes down the road, literally just over the line. I might need a little heads up because my territory's big. I cover basically the East Coast except for the Carolinas and most of Georgia. So, and I go into Canada. So I'm all over the place. But this week I'm local, so I can do stuff. Just reach out to me if you want to make a joint sales call or 2 or whatever. I can do a day or a couple days or just one, whatever you guys want to do. Happy to do it. And like I say, I can just sit there and be a fly too. I don't have to say a whole lot, but sometimes customers like to see that who you're dealing with, and they may have a question that I can answer for them.
Do you guys, I only ask this because I ran across it within the past week or two. People asking for grooved adapters. Do you guys get into any type of grooved ends, adapters that way? Like,
We can do it. What are you looking at? I mean, is
well,
it
I think
almost
at
like
the
a
time the
nipple,
person
or-
was just looking for something simple to go from, just a male. For whatever reason, I wasn't able to find it from Anvil or anybody else, but it was just going from grooved end pipe to, it's just basically a nipple.
Right.
But
Oh, yeah.
there was something that here was involved because I can't bring to mind what size it was, but for whatever reason, it was very difficult to even find.
They can do. I think.
You'll make anything with a drawing.
I think Anvil can do that.
Yeah, I
They
know
should be
Anvil,
able to do it.
and I went to and asked them for the one thing. There was
We
something
can
that
do
was
it,
a little
but-
odd about it, but the fact that usually it's a male grooved end by something else. You guys could do something like that, whether it be flanged or female thread
Yep.
or something like that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they. I think they have, as I recall, certain adapter fittings that they.
It might have actually been the material is the problem, I think.
Okay.
What the person was asking for. Because he was trying to go from, I'm still trying to remember all the particulars. He was trying to connect, he needed it to be for potable water, and he was coming off of copper. And it was copper grooved.
Mm-hmm.
And he needed it to be stainless steel that he was connecting to. That's what it was. And yeah, I was having a very difficult time trying to get
Stainless
somebody to quote me something that would connect to a copper groove.
So the stainless steel side was going to be threaded.
The stainless steel side, I'm trying to remember if it was threaded or flanged. But I know I got,
but it
got
wasn't
the guy.
groove. It wasn't groove by groove, is what my
Yeah.
Build it.
it was-
Build it, then you're able to build it.
Yeah, I was able to quote him on something eventually, but it was very difficult trying to get from, because the copper groove is a different size than your regular groove pipe, and trying to come from that to get to a pipe size was very, so
No,
yeah.
I hear you there.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, well, actually, when I worked for Anvil, it used to be the same size. They
Anvil did the
switched it
special.
in the past couple of years, but I thought it was a great thing. It was like a huge selling feature for me, explaining how it worked, and you only had to stock one coupling rather than, both copper and the iron pipe size.
Because that would have been the optimal thing if I
Well,
could
we can
have found
definitely
something.
do whatever you need. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I think I said it in the previous session. We can do. I mean, they're a full-fledged machine shop. They can make
Whatever you want.
anything you want. It's a matter of, is it going to be cost
It's
prohibitive?
got over 100 different flavors of metal to make it out of.
Any flavor or
You
anything?
just won't tell us what they are.
Because, and that was the one thing, I could find something here to go from the regular groove to the copper groove, but he didn't want me to go cast iron. He didn't want me to do the regular painted fitting, because he goes, he needed it to be for potable water. And so he goes, preferably he would like to have it to be stainless steel. So that was the whole thing where it was like, well, how am I going to get a stainless steel down to be the same size as the copper side? And I think I did it with flanges is what I ended up doing.
Anvil has
So-
a NSF approved galvanized I had to get before for a job. Cause I remember some of them come in, cause it's like a transition, like some of them come in weren't approved and some were, and it was
So
like a weekend job and it was a nightmare.
So the actual fitting itself has to be, not the gasket.
No,
The
it was actual
gasket's the
fitting.
only thing
They
that
actually had
comes into
stickers on
contact with
NSF
the medium.
approved, which
Yeah.
I never heard of it.
That's
When
the
the
thing.
guy told me that, I'm like,
Well, and that was the other, I was looking at it was Anvil's dielectric nipples, where they listed under all their,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
they list their dielectric nipples under the
That's
copper
fine, it's
groove
just potable
and
water.
stuff. And they say,
Yeah.
copper grooved, NSF approved, and each one broken down, they had NSF, you got to the dielectric, no NSF listed on it. And I was like, well, if it's not listed on that particular
Yeah,
spec sheet, I
dielectric
assume
could be
it's
your
not
problem.
NSF approved. So that's why I was like, because that was my first thing, is trying to go, because of this dissimilar metals, go with the dielectric nipple, but I couldn't do that because he wanted it to be NSF approved.
It doesn't have the approval, so.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, no, we can definitely, you know.
Well, that would have made my life a little easier than trying to. Because I think it was either 3 or 4
Some
fittings
people
I had
think
to sell.
that's the
into
only
the-
business that we're in is to do special weird stuff. They don't
Yeah.
think of us, you know, I was just with some, I was out in Buffalo last week and Commercial Pipe, they're AD guys, and we were talking to them and they said, I just did a lunch and learn for them last Wednesday. And yeah, the branch manager goes, I have to admit, he goes, I only thought you guys did specials. I didn't know you were like, you know, Bonnie and Capital and all that. But it's okay.
Is there a difference between? I mean, I know you said that you guys use the machines at Hammer versus. I thought you said handled pores theirs.
Oh,
That's
now
a
on
cast, that's a
cast
cast
iron.
fitting.
Oh,
Yeah,
just
it's
a cast iron.
fitting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
No, all
Not-
forged
no,
steel.
Forging is, that's what
Okay.
forging is.
Okay, so
Yeah.
everybody does it the same across the board as far as how everything. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe not exactly. same,
Hammer
but
forging,
same
but
basic
forging.
principle.
Same basic principle.
Yes, yeah. It's not a pour.
Okay.
It's a ingot that gets formed. Yep.
These units are huge
That's how you
too.
get it so
The hammer
gas.
them.
You
They're
get it
huge.
so
They shake the ground when they hammer.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. Yeah, we were over there first, I
And
think
I use it.
it's maybe the second time I was there.
Never
Even
been,
in
seen
the
it.
Standing there, and
stainless
this thing's
steel,
pounding away,
but
and they
it's
had
like when you
where
got
they
to the
put the fittings in the water bin or whatever to
it's like
quench
if you
them.
read the first page in the book, it says
That
that's
thing's
approved
going,
or
that's
listed under all.
You watch the water
She's thinking
vibrate.
earthquake.
But when
And
you
it
get
was
to the
like,
specific
you
page
know,
number, it doesn't
from
say.
here to the stop
It does
sign
for each
where the
other
machine
specific page
was.
for the cockpit.
So I just like
You know.
did a quick video of it. I was like, that's weird.
Just about 4 times.
Do you guys run on weekends then?
It does say.
I don't think they do.
think
Not there.
I think
Maybe
it's
the Machine Shop.
But
They
it's
might.
30,000
column.
They're, you know, we're, when they first
Got a red line.
got that property, it was just farmland. There was nothing around.
It's in the middle of nowhere,
Just
or
like
it was.
a
We used to be in the middle of nowhere.
It's just like here.
Is it?
It's developing.
It used to be in the middle of nowhere.
People
That's-
have, you
yeah.
know, there's, you know, whatever,
That was forming.
$300,000, $400,000 homes being built, you know, not too far from there.
Probably complaining about the noise.
And, yeah, and they've tried to be
They're-
good
the
neighbors.
glass sitting there with ripples on it in their dining room table.
Yeah, right.
Like, when you built that house, did you not see that?
It's
Right.
like E.T.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like people that build their houses on the golf course and then
And
they
then you
complain
have
about balls hit
Golf balls in.
hit their house.
We're not thinking.
Or the
tank.
people that
This part-
want to move out to the
I was
country.
doing this part of mushrooms
Straighten it out.
Stuck behind this truck.